Okay, let's take a quick look at Malleable C2. First, the example profiles are available on my GitHub repository under Malleable C2 profiles. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is what's available on that repository. So let's take a look at a profile other than the one we were just studying. And this is a profile for the HEVX Trojan, okay? And the HEVX Trojan is called HEVX because its command and control wraps its base64 encoded C2 in an HTML comment that begins and ends with HEVX. So that's why it's called the HEVX Trojan. Let's go ahead and run the C2lint tool against that profile. Let's go Malleable C2 profiles, apt HEVX.profile. And here's the output we get. Green is good, yellow is a warning, and red is really bad. And here is a sample of the traffic that the profile will generate. So we don't even have to bother loading up Wireshark. We can start modifying things and see what they look like. So let's go ahead and make a change, one that introduces a syntax error. And let's go ahead and run C2lint again. And you'll see that it's actually going to give us an error when it tries to compile the profile. And it gives us line numbers as well. And if we look, line 17, sure enough, is our problem. So let's put a semicolon back in there. So just showing you what that's all about. Now, in Malleable C2, everything you do does take up space eventually into what will go into Beacon. So if you do too much, the Malleable C2 is going to have to complain. So let's try doing a lot of base64 encoding. And let's run C2lint. And I can see this profile actually passed, and I believe that. So let's try doing a bunch of base64 encoding of the metadata, because that has a fixed size. And here, we're actually getting some errors indicating that, hey, when I unit test this profile, the actual end values I'm trying to send are much bigger than what a person would consider sane. So that's an example of how C2lint can help you find real errors in your profile, okay? And here you can see like my expanded many times base64 encoded C2, right? So quite a bit from what we started with. So that's an example of how the traffic preview can help you out as well. So that's an example of using C2lint. Let's go ahead and put this profile back to normal real quick. And let's load it into Cobalt Strike, hook a system, and see what our traffic looks like. Okay, so let's come over here. Just verify our profile one last time. Looks good. And let's go ahead and do team server 192.168.1.2 password Malleable C2 profiles apt HEVX.profile. And now let's start a Cobalt Strike client, and let's connect it to our local host team server. And here we are. All right, let's go ahead and create a listener real quick. We'll do one on port 80. The listener is automatically going to take on the Malleable C2 profile. The reason you specify the profile when you start the team server is to make sure that the operators are locked into the profile, okay? You want infrastructure to be invisible to your operators as much as possible. Now we'll go use the PowerShell web delivery attack. And I'm going to run that on target. And there we go. We've hooked a system. And now the system, when it communicates with us and gets taskings, it's going to look like have X on the wire. So let's go ahead and change sleep time. And while that's going on, let's open up Wireshark so we can take a look at what this looks like. So let's go capture interfaces, ETH0, and we'll go ahead and start that up. And now, let's go ahead and just resize this a little bit. And let's just filter for HTTP traffic. And there we can see a get from our HaveX beacon. And there's our traffic in Wireshark. Now you'll notice it's empty in here because we didn't give it a tasking. So let's go ahead and give it a tasking and take a look at what that looks like. So let's do HTTP again. And let's go over to our Cobalt Strike client. Let's give it a task. And just wait for the target check in here, which should be another 20 seconds or so. While that's going on, we'll set up a filter. There we go. Better. And there's our new request. Let's go file TCP stream. And there's what it looks like with some base64 encoded command and control data. So that's Malleable C2 and how to look at it in Wireshark. And let me ask, seeing what you see here and looking at what C2Lint gives us, I like to think did a pretty good job. You know, it's selecting one of the URLs, but we got the refer, we got the accept piece, the cookie, user agent, a few other things added. But overall, that's how this preview maps to the information you see there. So that's a bit on using Malleable C2 with Cobalt Strike. Okay, so that's Malleable C2. In this lecture, I introduced Malleable Command Control, a technology to define the indicators in the beacon payload. I took you through how to set up a profile with a team server and use it. We went through the profile language and I also showed you how to use C2Lint to develop and test profiles. This concludes part 8 of Advanced Threat Tactics.